Donovan Dijak joins us here on Busted Open. First of all, I want to make sure, am I getting the name right? Is that
The name is
good?
right. The name is right. Yeah.
Nice.
Donovan Dijak. That's my old indie name. Tomorrow is my first match in a very long time as Donovan Dijak. My last one uh, feels like forever ago. It was my last match on the Indies in PWG back when they were in Reseda, California, against Keith Lee in the Battle of Los Angeles 2017. So tomorrow, I'm going to be wrestling for Beyond Wrestling, which is my home promotion in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is my hometown, for their biggest show of the year. So I guess good bookends there. It all kind of fell into place in terms of that anyway. But yeah, I'm Donovan just to continue that legacy on the independents, and also because contractually I had to sign away the exclusivity of the name Just Dijak in a pro wrestling sense to WWE. I actually signed a thing that says that they own the rights to just WWE, or to Just Dijak as a pro wrestling entity. So I was told I can be Bill Dijak if I want to be. I can be Fred Dijak if I want to be, but I guess they don't want to see Just Dijak pop up on some other pro wrestling program. I don't know how you enforce that, but I'm sure they'll find a way.
Oh, they have their ways of enforcing.
Right, exactly.
Trust me.
Right.
How are you feeling? Like, as of right now, how are you feeling not being under the WWE umbrella anymore and out there able to do what you choose to do?
So it was very, very difficult for the week, or a little bit more than a week of time in between when I got the initial notification, right? Because there's this process of just thinking about the information that's been delivered to me. Why did this happen? Do I need to talk to someone? Is there someone I can have a conversation with? All those sorts of things. And then, I'm working with my agents, Mojo Raleigh and Steve K, who run Paragon Talent Group. And they've been a tremendous job, and they've been the liaison between me and talent relations and whoever's in charge of these decisions. And so, they're letting me know that this might be a negotiating tactic. They might just be trying to draw your price down. And I'm trying to process all this, like, okay. And I'm trying to talk to people in the office and say, like, hey, can we have a conversation about this? Can we have what? So all of that's happening. It's a whirlwind. Basically, time goes by and we come to the conclusion that this is probably set in stone. Like, I have a very short amount of time to figure this out, right? Because usually you get your 30 days if you're in NXT, but I was on a main roster contract, so 90 days usually, and that's a ton of time to fill dates and get bookings and set up interviews and all that stuff. I'm also in this process of, how do I want to approach this now? Because I have maybe a week to decide what I want to do with this situation. By this situation, I mean, I'm not employed by WWE in a week or so, So it's like, do I show up somewhere as a surprise? Does anyone want me to show up as a surprise? Right? Because they're going to have a few days notice, and they would need to change all the booking and all of these questions. And I'm trying to figure out all of them. And then finally it comes down to Thursday, and I'm like, okay, I'm not getting a check from WWE. I need to pay my mortgage, right? So I need to, my kids need to eat. I need to, so I'm like, what is the best case scenario under the circumstances that I have right now? So I said, okay, I have two options. I can either do what I'm being advised to do. I'm going to call a spade a spade. I was told it would be a better decision. It would be in a better interest of mine to be vague about it and kind of allude to the thought process that, I felt I was worth more and I'm going out to prove myself or whatever. Or I could tell the absolute truth being there was no contract offer whatsoever. I felt like this situation was so unique that I wanted to tell the absolute truth, because I felt like this is something that a lot of people can relate to. is feeling like you did your best, is feeling like you did everything in your power, feeling like you knocked it out of the park with every opportunity you were given, and the people who were in charge of making decisions just didn't care. That's how I felt about that decision. I felt like I did everything in my power that I possibly could, that I was a model employee, that I listened, that I tried my best. I and when I was given opportunities, I felt like I exceeded expectations. So I decided I'm going to write this letter. I'm going to pen this letter. I'm going to read it over. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to run it by everybody I know. I'm going to see what they think. And we all came to the same conclusion that, like, yeah, people will be able to feel this and relate to this. And I think that people will rally behind you and feel like yeah, that they're this could have been different, right? There should have been some other solution to whatever cause of concern or whatever thing was happening that led them to feel that there shouldn't even be a contract offer. So that's the approach that I took. And it was a difficult decision. I don't know if it was the correct decision. It right now it feels gratifying to have so many people reaching out to me and being like, yeah, we totally want to use you. We want to book you on this show. We want to use you here. We want to, and the fans were rallying behind me a little bit too and saying, we want to see you here. We want to see you here. We want to see you here. And so that part of it has been validating in a sense, because leading up into that, I don't know what the right decision was. And maybe I didn't make the right decision. That's a possibility.
So whenever I hear about situations like this that happen, and I have been through it myself, I have been through it with me and Devon with the WWE, where we could not come to terms on a new contract, and that was strictly financial, and that's why we went our separate ways. The question I have for you is why? If you had a gun to your head and you absolutely positively had to give an answer, a very introspective answer, why do you think the WWE chose to not re-sign you? And what could you have done better to get them to re-sign you?
That's a great question that I've been asked many, many times. And if you put that figurative gun to my head, the best answer I can come up with, and this I'm going to add a grain of salt to this, that I have enough perspective to know that this probably isn't 100% what happened. And there's a million different options, because I don't know who's calling the shots. Endeavor owns the company. Whereas it used to be a little bit easier to point the finger and say, okay, it's Vince, right? Vince owns the company, he does the booking, he does everything. This was likely Vince's decision. Now we're in this middle ground where, like, there's a board of directors, they own it, they're trying to cut costs. There's also creative process. There's parts. So I don't know. But if you put a gun to my head and you tell me to guess, if I have to piece it all together in, so right after Hunter took over creatively, there was like a 4-month or like a 4-week, 5-week window there where I was still T-Bar, and I was still just kind of on main event in that slot. And, I'm waiting patiently. I'm saying, okay, I know Hunter, we worked together in NXT, we worked under Black and Gold. He's already starting to change Max Dupree into LA Knight. I can see that transition happening. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to be patient, because people are probably bombarding him. We want this, I want to change, etc. So I'm like, I'm going to be patient. I'm just going to wait. And so we're going. It's like a month, a little bit more than a month in now. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make my move. I'm just going to shoot Hunter an email and ask him if we can make this change. I didn't hear back from that. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to grab him a TV and say, hey, do you have time for a phone call? Can we have a conversation about it? I grabbed him. He said, yeah, we'll talk later in the week. I got a call later that week from Bruce Pritchard, and I thought I was being fired. I just straight up, I thought I was being released. And I said, oh God, here we. So I took the phone call, and Bruce let me know that I was going to go. They were putting me to NXT for 6 months. And I said, oh, okay, great. I love the new product. I love the direction that it's trending in. I'll be honest, there was a pause for concern there, because I know at this point I'm on a main roster contract being sent to NXT. Historically, that's not a great situation to be in, because there have been a lot of people who've been released under those circumstances. It's just the way that the cookie crumbled. That being said, this is the first time this has happened under Hunter, and he obviously created NXT. So maybe there's a different view of NXT. Maybe it's there's going to be more shifting up and down from brands. Maybe I'm the experiment in that. And I was like, okay, great. I hang up with Bruce. 10 seconds later, I get a call from Shawn Michaels. He's super excited. This is the first time that there's been anyone out of state being able to fly into NXT. That's now an option. That's a possibility. I fly down there. I have a meeting with Shawn, Johnny Russo, who's the head writer, and Matt Bloom, who runs the Performance Center and is also involved in the booking aspect of it. And they could not have been more receptive to all of my thoughts and all of my ideas. And I said I wanted to change my name to this. I'll sign it over to you. I want to look like this. This is my idea. Here's the background of the character. Here's the motivation. Here's the why. Here's all of these answers, all of this stuff. And they said, we know you're concerned about these kind of meetings because we know you've had these meetings before and they go nowhere. We want you to know that we are ready to listen to you and to work with you. And I said, okay, I've heard that before in WWE before and it doesn't happen. But, let's see. I'm going to give them the opportunity to prove themselves. And 4 weeks later, they presented it exactly how I pitched. It was all perfect. The run itself, the presentation, I was so happy with everything. It felt validating. It felt like the first time in a very long time that anyone had actually heard my ideas. And I felt like I was ready to run through a wall. And I sent messages to everyone who would listen, to Hunter, to Shawn, to thank you so much. This has revitalized my career. I'm ready to run through a wall for you guys. I will do anything for you. This is perfect. And that's exactly what I did. Every opportunity I got, pay-per-view or premium live event, TV, it didn't matter if it was 1 minute, 10 minutes, or 20 minutes. I was doing everything in my power. The backstage vignettes that we worked together on, that was part of my vision because I showed them a video that I taped in my basement with these smoke effects and stuff like that. So all of it pieced together with the tape recorder and all that stuff. It was all part of the presentation. Then we worked together and we worked in Shawn's version of the vision and all that stuff. And I know I'm telling a long story here and not answering your question. The answer to your question with the gun to my head of what happened, my guess would be that when that phone call took place and I got a phone call from Bruce telling me I was going to NXT, I think that, and I don't know who was involved in this, but I think that there was a conversation that took place before that said, okay, we have T-Bar here and he's on a main roster contract and there's a 1.5 years left on this contract. Do we release him right now or do we let him extend, or do we let him live out the remainder of his contract in NXT and see what we can get out of him on NXT? And my guess is that that's the conclusion that was determined. Which
are you suggesting? I just want to clarify. Are you suggesting that in their mind, they were just letting you go down there to, as you say, just run out the rest of your contract? But you looked at it as a breath of fresh air and you were gung-ho and ready to go, where they were more like, hey, we don't want to release you. Just go hang out down here for 1.5 years, collect your check, play by the rules, do what we ask you to do, and that's it. And they knew that you were too aggressive, and they perceived it as you was too aggressive about the situation. You're like, and they're like, this is not going to work.
Something like that. Yeah, I think so. I think that I have and I've never been shy about this. I told Vince straight to his face that I wanted to be a top guy for him, and what do I need to do to be a top guy for you? I've had that conversation with Hunter, with Shawn, with everybody who will listen, because that's how I feel about myself. And if they don't, that's okay. I've always been in agreement that maybe that's not the spot for me then, and I'm okay with that too. But yeah, I took the move to NXT as an opportunity to prove myself. I'm going to prove that I can do everything in my power to show you guys that I can be a top guy, to show you that I have what it takes to cut good promos, to do good vignettes, to have killer matches, to do everything that I possibly can, stay in shape, be presentable, take good pictures, offer to do things, offer to help with training, all of these things. And I'm going to show them how valuable I am, so that when I get called back up to the main roster, they finally see the vision, and then it takes off from there, because now I'm surrounded by people I know and trust. and we're all on the same page, and it's like, let's get this thing going in the right direction. We can forget about T-Bar. We can go in the direction that's working, and we have proof of pudding in NXT that it worked, and it did well, and it got over. And again, I'm not saying who made those decisions. It might have been a money decision. Someone might have just said like, that's a main roster contract on NXT, and we don't let's clean our hands of that sort of thing. Like, let's not do that anymore because we're spending too much money on something that doesn't pay us back as much as this does, and we can spend that money here better. I don't know. So I've kept people's names out of my mouth in terms of who made this decision, because the bottom line is I do not know. I do not know. All I know is that it feels disappointing to me because I feel like no matter what I did in that situation, that the decision had already been made from a monetary standpoint, and that's just disappointing.
Right around or just before WrestleMania, you did have some big wins on NXT TV going into Stand and Deliver, and then you were in a marquee matchup at Stand and Deliver for the North American Championship. Wins over Joe Gacy, wins over Shawn Spears. Did you feel like at that time that, all right, maybe finally now they're kind of giving me that push, or did you feel like there was some momentum behind you and your character at that time?
Yes, I did. And I'll tell you exactly how my thought process worked. We started to build the momentum, and it felt like it was trending in that direction, like you said. And then I found out the booking for Stand and Deliver, and I wasn't angry about it, right? I wasn't like, oh, I'm definitely going to lose this. It's Obafemi's first defense or whatever. I thought, oh, this lines up very well with the draft. So we've set a precedent. We're building towards something. I'm gonna put over the kid strong. He's gonna look amazing like he always does. Josh is in there. I trust Josh. My producer was Matt Bloom. We can all work together, and we can create a magical triple threat match that'll send me out, and then that'll be my farewell to NXT. I'll get called up to Raw, and we'll be off to the races from there. That was my thought process of like a best case scenario, right? Because even at that point, I know when my contract is up, right? So even if I win the North American Championship, that's like it would have been great, and I would have appreciated it. But in terms of contract status, that would have put me in a real funny sort of spot where I would have been North American champion, but also my main roster contract is coming up. So it would have been this weird like negotiating process where it's like, you're still on NXT and we have to keep you on NXT. So it's, so it would have put me in a funny middle ground. So I nobody told me until, 3 or 4 days before the match, what the finish of the match was. But I just assumed the whole time, since we're building Oba in such a strong way, that the purpose of the business of this match was to establish him as a dominant champion and to give him his first, amazing match on a big stage. And that's exactly what we did. So it played out exactly the way that I envisioned it. And I was hoping that would kind of be the springboard into the draft, which it was, just not quite how I envisioned that draft process going.
Yeah, because it was almost like, I feel like after Stand and Deliver, it was almost like that pulling of the plug moment where like, yeah, that could have been the jump start of the career on the main roster, but it was almost like, in essence, they pulled the plug on you right after that match at Stand and Deliver, correct?
Yeah, and so the TV after that, or I think there was one, we did a backstage, and then 10 days later, we ran me and Noam Dar, who's the leader of Metaphor. And I was happy with that business as well, right? Because I felt like, okay, nobody told me this, right? Nobody told me that I was getting drafted. Nobody told me what the business was. But I've been around WWE long enough where I can start to piece a lot of this together. And I'm saying, okay, Trick Williams needs a competitor. He needs a heel. That's Noam. We can transition me a little bit more babyface because the crowd's starting to get behind me. I'll put Noam over, and he'll be built up to challenge Trick for the championship. Now I've done more good business. Now we have competitors lined up, and I'm ready to go off to Raw. We've set everything up very well, and that's exactly what happened. So as far as I know, that's all that Sean knew, and he did it beautifully. So I was that's how I envisioned all of it going. That's pretty much exactly how it went. Again, I get no say in the booking aspect. I've never been a guy who comes into the creative process or talks to the guy and says, hey, I think we should book this and this and that. I'm more of like a let's try this idea. What if I say this? What if I look like that? I've never been like here's where we should. And honestly, it's probably a fault of mine. I should probably be more involved in that process of where are we going, what's the business, stuff like
and
that.
Donovan, I thought they did a great job with you on NXT in that last run too. Like I thought it went beautifully. Like you said, the matches were great. I thought they presented you perfectly. The fans got behind you as well. Like you said, the fans got behind you. Like that's why I was so surprised by it, because I was like, I thought just like you. I was like, all right, this fits in beautifully. Stand and deliver. Obi goes over. He looks strong. Now you're back on the main roster, and now it's under Triple H, where you're going to be used in the right way. So I'm with you. I thought the way they used you on NXT was nearly perfect.
I was extremely happy with my NXT run. I'm still happy with it. Like I said before, if we go back to that pivotal moment where I'm T-Bar, and there's two options on the table, and one of them is you're released right now as T-Bar and that's it, and the other option is you're on NXT until your contract runs out, and 100%, no matter what, you're gone at the end of this contract. I'm 100% taking that second option, because I'm in a much better spot right now than I would have been back then. Back then, that would have been a really rough spot to be in. And I know that from experience, because some of my close friends were in that spot. Shane Haste, who's an IWGP tag team champion right now for New Japan, he was Slapjack in Retribution, and then they did the supplemental draft and he was moved over to SmackDown, never used on TV, and then released. That's a bad spot to be in, because people don't want to book you, because who was Slapjack? Who cares? Shane, who? Like, what do you do? Whereas I had this run as Dijak, it was front and center, lots of premium live events, lots of screen time on TV every week. And I now, the second I made that announcement, I'm booked all over the place. So I could not be more thankful to the people who were involved in that decision. It's just the conclusion of it that feels, disappointing, rightfully so.
You see, I think we need to be more patient with this whole Retribution thing. I think it's just starting to play out.
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him, please, because
if I was you guys, I'd all get together in a different company.
No,
listen, and shove it up everybody's ass.
Stop.
What do you mean stop?
Because
hang on. To Bully's point,
a great
if
idea.
they had Retribution against the business,
and
they're a bunch of bitter guys that were let go and going to beat the crap out of everybody to prove that they're top guys, that's their own version of an NWO right there.
Make Retribution work someplace else.
Yeah, I mean, we can't call it Retribution because that's WWE IP, but we can call it anything. I listen. It's an extremely good idea, and I've had the exact same idea, and it's been presented before, and we want to try and do that in different companies. So
take it to New Japan. They like that.
Hold on. Dave, did you want to apologize?
I'm not going to apologize, but you know what? It is. You know what? I will apologize, because just so you know, Donovan, like I don't want to say it was great radio, but we filled a lot of time, Bully and I, talking about Retribution, and because I would be pulling my hair out, on Tuesdays after Monday Night Raw, talking about Retribution, and Bully would always say to me every single Tuesday, LaGreca, be patient, let it play out. This is this is all part of the story. And I'm like, but this just happened and that just happened, and then like T-Bar and Slapdick and like I would be pulling my hair out, and then Bully's like, be patient, wait. So I understand what you're saying, but like, there had to be a point for you where you were like, all right, what are we doing here? Where is this going? Right?
The whole thing, it was an extremely double-edged sword for us, both professionally and mentally, right? Because there's so many positives and negatives all at the same time that it's just really difficult to process, right? Because it's like we're all in WWE. We've all been in WWE or in NXT anyway for a good chunk of time, right? Everyone in that group was in NXT for 3 years at that point, which at that point that's a long tenure in NXT. You know, most people get called up after a year or two. We're all best friends, right? Everyone in that group I'm very close friends with. And now we're all getting called up to the main roster together. This is like a dream come true, right? We're all, you know, the prospect of more money is there. We can take care of our families. We're doing it with our friends. Yes, we're in the middle of the pandemic. Yes, it's a scary time, and there's a lot of uncertainty, especially within the realm of job security and things like that. But it's like, hey, and Retribution in its origin was, we weren't involved in it, right? It was just something happened, and then all of a sudden there was like these mass people throwing Molotov cocktails, and it seemed like it was hastily put together. But I saw that as an opportunity because we were in this weird middle ground where we're not really on NXT anymore, but we're told we're called up, but sort of not. Because again, it's in the middle of the pandemic, and this is at that time when Raw is being taped at the Performance Center. So we're all there. We're all physically there, and they're using people who are local just because it's easier to not test them and stuff. So there's this whole weird mishmash of stuff happening. And basically it boils down to, I went straight to Vince with my idea, and I'm like, listen, it seems like you might need some wrestlers to fill in the blanks of this Retribution stuff. Here's my ideas. Here's how I think this could play out. And pretty much exactly what Bully and Tommy described is exactly what I presented to Vince. Here's these guys. We all have this issue. We're all friends, but here's why we're mad at the company. We're trying to take it out. And I presented this whole thing. And then I don't know for sure, and this was never confirmed to me, but it felt like he took about half of what I said. So the wrestlers, he took a lot of the wrestlers that I pitched and then inserted a couple others like Ali and stuff, and the females as well that ended up being used, but Mercedes dropped off, but Mia stuck around. And then he took the stylization of what I pitched in the vision, and the presentation of the masks. I wanted the masks to be like entrance masks where we take them off and reveal that this is who we are, but our we've changed whatever our haircuts or whatever, but I still wanted to acknowledge that we used to be the characters that we were on the television program, right? Because NXT at this point is on the USA Network, so it's on the exact same network as Monday Night Raw. So I wanted to keep that continuity of, we're pissed at NXT for disbanding us, and I got choked out and killed off by Karrion Kross, so I'm angry at him. I'm angry at the company. I want to destroy the company, right? That was my idea. That was my presentation, my pitch. It turned into a much different thing, you know, because we started becoming more and more involved in the process, and we're like, okay, this is great because now we're the guys in the masks. Now we're the ones who are destroying the place. We're the ones who are beating up Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. So it's like, okay, great, this is trending in the correct direction. And then the day came where it all got presented to us, and it's like, here's your masks. You're going to wear them while you wrestle. Your name is T-Bar and Slapjack and Mace, and you have face paint on, and all these different elements that I knew would not be received well online. And that's when it became like we have some damage control to do now, because on the one hand, we know how this is going to be received. On the other hand, these are all ideas coming straight from Vince McMahon. So
you're done.
So we're like, we want to make this work. It's his stuff. We want to make this work. So we're gonna go all in. We're gonna do his vision. We're gonna do everything and present it that way. And like we thought, it was received. And it's the Thunderdome, so we don't have fans. I don't have fans to go, oh, that guy likes me. That guy, oh, they're cheering. Oh, they're booing. It's just video screens in the back. So the only feedback I have is Vince in the back and Twitter online. That's it. That's our only feedback. Vince seems content with everything. Twitter seems like they want all of us to be fired immediately, which is like part of it's we're resigning ourselves to, okay, we're bad guys. This is kayfabe. It'll be fine. They dislike the heels. Good. We're doing our job. It kept progressing and snowballing in a direction where it felt like there was a point where we were no longer booked on Fox on SmackDown. And I don't know this for sure, but I heard through the grapevine that Fox just didn't like it and they just didn't want it. And I feel like from that point on that Vince was not as interested in the presentation anymore. That's kind of when it felt like it creatively from his standpoint started to fall off a cliff, and it felt like we started having to scratch and claw for stuff, and that's when the feedback online started to get really difficult, and more importantly the just the feel of how we're being presented and how we're being booked and stuff like that started to get difficult in terms of a mental struggle every week.
Vince could love you on Monday and have a bad workout and hate you on Tuesday. So.
Exactly.
Alternate universe, take you back to that phone call. If Bruce Pritchard told you, we like you, we're going to let you go to NXT, ride out that contract, and then we're not going to re-sign you,
I would have absolutely taken it. Absolutely 100% taken it.
I look at honesty. Some people don't. Some people would be like, wait, what do you mean? I mean, you could also see a company's reaction where you see people's reactions when you let go. I thought your letter was formulated perfectly, like I've told you, like I tweeted it out there. I thought it was great because, yes, it is a bit of a punch to the gut because you're thinking something's going to happen. It's not going to happen. But at times, if like they just say, hey, because I mean, the other part, they let go of your friends, gave them 90 days, did not say, we're getting rid of you, as opposed to we're going to let you get paid for a year and a half. If something changes, hey, something changes. It's good to know that you have that mentality, but from a company point, they don't have that mentality because of how people react.
Right, exactly.
Especially in 2024 where people just go online and say, hey, I was offered this, this, and this. But so you would have worked the same. You would have done all the same. I've told you this, you're a better worker for being there. Now the biggest question, like that group that we were just quickly talking about, I think you're a perfect fit for New Japan due to your size, due to your work rate. And they need, I feel, a different influx of Americans. Where do you think you fit in right now in the landscape of pro wrestling?
I love the idea of New Japan. I think that would be a tremendous fit. And I actually got to see Rocky Romero backstage at Forbidden Door at AEW last week. I saw a ton of people that I know. I saw you backstage. I saw everybody. It was really nice to be. I saw nice to be in that environment and to see so many people that I recognize and I have relationships with. Because the reality of the situation is I left the WWE locker room 3 weeks ago, and that was a lot of my close friends, and I didn't know that was going to be the last time I was going to see them in a professional sense in a very long time, or maybe ever, right? So that kind of hit me a little hard, but it was good to have that same thing reciprocated, and to walk into a locker room where I'm seeing so many familiar faces all at once. So yeah, to answer your question, I think that would be a great fit. But personally, I think that there's a lot of places that would be a great fit for me. I want to go wherever there is a place that feels that I am a great fit for them. Not a good fit, but a great fit for them. Because when I started with WWE, it was very apparent to me very quickly that I was not their top choice, right? I was not the guy that it felt like I was there because they thought I was a good worker and maybe I could progress and maybe whatever. But there's enough times where I've seen throughout the course of my 7 years there where I saw that they had a guy they wanted, they got him, and they knew that was the guy they wanted. I want to be somewhere where that place feels like I'm the guy who can deliver for them, because I'm always going to feel that way about myself. I'm always going to be the guy who is confident in my delivery. If you put the ball in my hands, I promise you I'm going to score for you. That's my mentality. And whoever's going to put that trust in me, I'm going to reciprocate that twice as much, because that's my mentality. That's how I feel about myself and my preparation. That's the thought process that I've always brought to the table. And I'm 37 years old, and I know that I'm still physically in the prime of my career, because even though I wrestle the style that I wrestle, I've been in spots where I haven't been on tons of house show loops or anything like that. So my body's not destroyed at this point. For the past 4 years, I've been wrestling once or twice a month. So my body's not destroyed, even though I wrestle this kind of high impact style. But I'm 37. I feel great physically, and I'm ready to deliver for anybody who's willing to give me the ball.
Dominic, I'm just curious, who broke you in?
I came into the business in an interesting turn of events. A school that I start as a trainer at tonight, the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. I've come full circle. I do my first night of training tonight in the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. My trainers were Brian Fury and Todd Hansen, who's Ivar from the Viking Raiders. So those were the guys who were my initial trainers, and I'm super thankful for them. I mean, they trained Mercedes Monet, and Todd had a hand in training Kofi Kingston and all sorts of a lot of the wrestlers of New England, with the exception of John Cena, because he kind of flashed over to California to become an actor. But most of the names out of New England came from that. So even Hunter himself, because it's all a derivative of Killer Kowalski's school in Malden. And that was kind of the place in New England until Walter unfortunately passed in the early mid 2000s. But the school itself became a derivative of Killer Kowalski's School of Professional Wrestling. So he was involved in the facility that I'm going to tonight in North Andover, Massachusetts.
Last question, because we're running low on time, and we're really thankful for giving us this time, and congratulations on everything, and good luck with everything in the future, because like you said, you're super young. You still have a lot of years in this business, so I hope you do find the right fit. Are you nervous? Are you scared? Are you excited? Or is it a combination of all three?
I was nervous and I was scared. Like I said, probably up until the day when I sent out that letter, and even for about an hour after I sent that letter, because there was so much concern and so much trepidation in my mind of, how is this going to be received? Is anyone going to care? Are people just going to laugh at me? Are they going to think that I'm bitter, disgruntled employee who's just airing out dirty laundry and bitching? Do people think I can still wrestle? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. The past week has been very, very validating and therapeutic for me, because I've got to speak with so many old friends. I've got so many opportunities to go out and work and make money and try my hand in different areas and different things. And the number one thing that has been bestowed on me right now in this position is that I didn't have to wait long, and I now can take control of lots of aspects of my career that for a long time I didn't have control over, and that's a very refreshing feeling. I'm so excited to get back into the ring tomorrow night, because that's my bread and butter in terms of making me happy and fulfilling my soul. Is once the bell rings, and this was the case even when I was in Retribution, even when we were the second the bell rang, I was happy. Then the bell would ring again, and I'd have to go deal with all the other stuff. But as soon as the bell rings, I'm always at my happiest. So I'm so excited to get back in the ring. It's going to be in Worcester. It's in my hometown, in a promotion where I made my name, and I'm so excited about that prospect. All the other prospects that I have on the line. I want to thank everyone who's reached out to me. It's a very, very exciting time in my career. So I would say excited is the word I would use.
Awesome. Again, good luck. You always have a place to have anything that you want to promote. You're always welcome to come back on. And thank you for being open and honest, and we appreciate it. And thanks again for the time.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much.